going through a very unusual period in British history of the last 5 years in the form of a coalition government. If you remember, we have not had a coalition government here since the war, and this is the first enduring 5-year coalition government that has stayed the full course of an election. And then now we're faced with a period of real uncertainty. These are the most uncertain elections that right now, 10 days before the election, there is nobody in this country who can say exactly which way it's going to go. The outcome is extremely uncertain. The messaging during this election has also been very worrying on many fronts, both domestically within the UK and also for people looking into the UK, investors, countries we do business with. A lot hinges on the outcome of this election, probably more so than at any time in decades. We're in an amazing position in this country where I don't think we appreciate domestically, and I also don't think countries dealing with us appreciate enough the positives about the UK. The fact that we are now one of the 5 largest economies in the world. We've always been consistently one of the top 10, but just recently we're now one of the top 5 economies in the world, although we make up less than 1% of the world's population. We are the 2nd largest inward investment destination in the world. We have best of the best capabilities in every field, from our banking, financial community, to our lawyers, to our accountants, our design, our architects, our creative industries, our film, our music, our museums, our tourism, our manufacturing, higher-end engineering. In every field, sports and the Olympics. In 2012 we came 3rd in the Paralympics and the Olympics for a tiny nation. This is amazing. The capabilities are enormous, and yet within the country we don't appreciate them enough. And people dealing with us, I do not think, appreciate it enough. And on top of all that, we've had the worst recession in a century just over 6 years ago. And here we are today, Britain, one of the fastest growing economies in the developed world. Here we are, Britain, with low unemployment. Here we are, Britain, with high employment. Here we are, Britain, with low interest rates. And here we are, Britain, with low inflation. An environment that any business would dream of, and an environment that any inward investor looking into Britain would dream of. And yet, we've come to an election where the government that has achieved that economic success is not at all certain of being the government in 10 days' time, because of the way this election has unfolded, because of parties like UKIP that have come in, because of the Scottish National Party and the SNP, which has played a hugely damaging role in this election. The logical outcome of an economic success being allowed to continue is not at all an automatic outcome. To be fair to David Cameron, I remember when I was chairing the UK-India Business Council and he took over as leader of the opposition, advising him then on his first ever visit to India. And I remember then he was very keen on India. He didn't know India at all. And from the time he became Prime Minister, he was very committed to India. He went 3 times to India, which is more than any Prime Minister has been in one term. And yet, we're still awaiting Prime Minister Modi's visit to the UK, and of course you can understand he probably wants to visit the UK after the next government is in place. But on the other hand, if you have a government that's going to be in place in 10 days' time that doesn't have the full mandate, so it looks unlikely that any one party will get a majority. If you have a coalition government that is what we've had now continuing, that has been acceptable for 5 years, and that will probably be fine. If, on the other hand, you have a Labour government that is being supported by the SNP, that is not a healthy situation, because you have the SNP, who is a party that is committed to destroying the United Kingdom, a party that is committed to breaking away, Scotland breaking away from the UK. You know what they're after, and they're going to have a very big say here in Westminster, and that's not healthy. It doesn't feel healthy within the UK, and from anyone looking outside, it gives an impression of instability and saying, well, A, how long is this going to last? How damaging is this going to be? What is the outcome going to be? And of course, business wants stability. Investors want stability. So that is a very dangerous outcome. UKIP, I'd be surprised if they get more than 2 seats. But they've been very damaging because they poll a huge number and have destabilized the electoral landscape in a big way.